Hey folks, how you all doing? So it's time for part two of my two-part series into my parents' loves of music and what artists they love that influenced me. As I mentioned previously in my previous video, that was my dad's musical taste. My mum's are way totally different, more soulful, more bluesy, more pop orientated. Um, than the rock of what my dad loves, even though they do like all these artists the same. It's just different things. And again, the Beatles and the Rolling Stones do not appear in my mum's list. When she grew up listening to these bands, watching them play live in the UK as well, etc., etc. But yeah, it's just the way it goes, isn't it? Anyway, I'll get on with this quick list of artists that my mum likes, and you'll see how part of my how their music has influenced my love of music. Can't find any albums by this band at the moment. I even have a solo album by their lead singer Paul Jones. You can probably guess who that is, but it is Manfred Mann. All I can show you at the moment is this box set of all their studio albums under the name Manfred Mann and their movie soundtracks, etc., etc. Mum is a huge fan. Her favourite song is Come Tomorrow by Manfred Mann. Probably Pretty Flamingo is her second favourite. Come Tomorrow happens to be my favourite as well. So then we'll move on. Another one of her favourite groups ever is Spencer Davis Group. She has a couple of their studio albums. Really loves them. She's a huge fan of Steve Winwood. I, however, am not a fan of Steve Winwood, but I do like a few of the Spencer Davis Group singles. Mum was a big fan of, or is a big fan of Georgie Fame. I actually forgot to mention about my mum. Okay, she was born in 1947 in Hitchin in Hertfordshire in the UK. They ended up growing up and settling down and etc. in Letchworth. Then obviously she met my dad when she was a teenager, blah blah blah, rest is history, and here I am. Nothing really incredible about mum's upbringing. She got half a dozen O levels at school. Was quite studious at the girls' school she was at. But yeah, other than that, she's got a love of music, same as we all do. She's a huge fan of David Bowie. Huge fan of, this is where all the soul stuff comes in here, Diana Ross and the Supremes. Huge fan of Elvis Presley. I think she's even got a name on this one. Janet. She's written it in ink just there. Janet. That's her name. Mum was actually, or is, I don't say, what do I mean was, she is a big fan of Doctor Hook. Huge fan of the great Leo Sayer. I probably should have pulled one of his studio albums out instead of this, but can't find it. Big fan of Mr. Neil Diamond, as most people were in the 1970s. Yeah, huge fan of Rod Stewart throughout his whole career. She loves just about everything he does. He can't put a foot wrong. I probably could have pulled Elton John to her list, but she's more of a fan of the 70s material, the classic 70s material, and the early 80s up to about 1984, and then she sort of drifted away from him. But yeah, her interest has never waned at all with Rocket Rod Stewart, another artist my mum loves that I also love. The great John Denver. She's also a big fan of the Police, not of Sting. She's not a fan of Sting as a solo artist, but she absolutely loves the Police and all their songs. Huge fan of Mr. Marvin Gaye. I think it's the third soul singer now. She loves the soul stuff. Again, Otis Redding. She was a huge fan, or is a huge fan of Mr. Otis Redding. And again, another one, a huge fan of Wilson Pickett. I think I've mentioned on a few of my videos that I love the black soul songs and singers, the Atlantic Stax Motown labels from the 1960s running into the early 70s. You can't beat those artists. They're absolutely fabulous. The songs are brilliant as well. This is a brilliant studio album. I think this was her first studio album here, which I'm showing. Mary Wells, My Guy. Absolutely brilliant album. Brilliant artist. Should have been a lot bigger than she was. But yeah, Mary Wells. Obviously, we're going to have Mr. Bob Dylan in someone's list. My dad cannot stand Bob Dylan at all. It's pretty funny. He hates him. It's just the nasally, twangy vocals that he got. He doesn't sing in tune. My dad doesn't understand about poetry. He wants to hear someone belting out Goodbye to Jane, or you know, We Will Rock You. He's not interested in Bob Dylan, but Mum absolutely loves him, and so do I. Mum was a huge fan in, well, 79 obviously is when it started. She had an interest in pop music because I was a teenager then, so she was listening to sort of what I was listening to, but she's a huge fan of Madness back in the day. Another one from the 1980s, Style Council. Mum is a huge fan of Style Council. She loves all of their stuff. Speak Like a Child is one of her favourite songs of all time, which was the debut Style Council single. She wasn't a big fan of the Jam. She liked a few of their songs, but not much. But she absolutely loves the Style Council. She's a bit so-so on Paul Weller's solo career, but Style Council can't put a foot wrong for my mum. But at least we've got a love of Paul Weller at some point together. I did actually 2008, was it, or 2008, Paul Weller toured Australia, and it was the first time since 1985 when he toured the east coast of Australia. But I actually got a birthday present from my mum, and I flew her to Adelaide, which is halfway across the country, and we spent a weekend in a hotel and went and saw Paul Weller live, and that's just one of them. She still remembers that. She's got dementia now, but she still remembers that when I bring it up, and she's got a little smile on her face. And Paul Weller actually sung Speak Like a Child that night, so that really made the whole, not only the show for her, but it made a lot of her musical memories and dreams come true, seeing Paul Weller sing Speak Like a Child. But yeah, it was a great weekend that we shared in the days before she got dementia, which she flits in and out of now. If I mention the name Bob Dylan, her eyes sort of perk up, and she's in the present then, as opposed to being vacant in the eyes and like they are with dementia sometimes. But the minute I mention Bob Dylan, she rushes into the back bedroom. She says, "Oh, I've got this new book. It's all Bob Dylan's lyrics and blah blah blah," and she brings it out every single time that I mention Bob Dylan or I go over there. So it's just nice that she remembers Bob Dylan. Of all the artists, she remembers Bob Dylan. It's really good feeling. Anyway, the last one on her list happens to be my favourite band of all time, and it is Small Faces. I had to get my love of the Small Faces from someone, right? Dad didn't like them, never liked them, didn't like the sound they had, thought they were dirty and not very tuneful, apart from Lazy Sunday and Ichiku Park, obviously. But yeah, so that's a wrap up of my mum's musical tastes and how mine have been absorbed from my mum's musical tastes and what I listened to when I was growing up has made me who I am, musically speaking. It'd be really nice if some other people got onto this and carried it on as a thread with how they got their musical loves, whether it's through parents, etc., etc. Anyway, guys, excuse me. Sorry for boring you for another 10.5 minutes, almost 11 minutes when this finishes. But let me know in the comments section below. What are your parents' musical loves? What do you think of the artists I showed? Anyway, guys, thanks for watching again. Stay safe, take care. All for now. Catch you around, and bye, folks.